Hey, it's finally picture time. Here we go. Click the intro. Hey, this is Tom with Tom's Tech Show, and I do videos also on photography because that's another one of my favorite things to do is to pull out the old DSLR and go out and take some pictures. It's been kind of smoky a little bit. That's kind of cleared up some, but still it'll affect the sky and everything. And there were some clouds today. It's been kind of cooler, a little overcast. So I'm going to head out, and I got the battery, I got the phone, I got all kinds of different things set up and ready to go. So I'm going to head out. The next videos you'll see, I made some videos along the way, so I'm going to edit those in here, and you'll see kind of what I did and stuff and explanations along the way. So there we go. Okay, I'm out here. We're at the beach here. You can see the sun back there is starting to come down. There's a few other photography people hanging out here. And I'm gonna probably, so here's, if you look here, I'm gonna step back a little bit and kind of go to the side. Here you can see I got the tripod sitting up here. I'm probably going to lower my tripod, so get a little lower, because you can see the water that comes up right here. It kind of spreads out once it gets up to the sand area, and it's very wide and flat and makes for some really nice reflections and everything out here on the sand. So, but one thing I'm going to do, since I'm lowering my tripod, and you can see I've got legs and everything down here. So I'm going to zoom back out again. So one thing you want to do, right, if you're going to be lowering your tripod or doing anything like that, is to not lower it from the top stalks here. You want to lower it from the least stable area first. So the legs down here on the end, these little pieces down here on the end, are the least stable. So I want to drop those all the way down to get rid of those, get those out of the equation, so that I maintain the most stable part of the tripod. All right, almost done here. Grab my headphone back. Okay, headphone fell out of my head. So okay, now my tripod is lowered, and I've got it down there, and we're going to be in a place where I can take some. I want to get the most of this, sand and water and stuff in the picture that I can. So now that my tripod's lower, if I move up some, then I will be able to do that in a better way. All right, so that's kind of, there's some really weird little poppy things in the sand. So we'll see how those come out. See if I can get it to where there's a pretty good smooth ocean out here when I'm taking pictures. All right, check back, hang on. Okay, so here we are. I've actually moved a little bit closer, lowered down even more in my camera. I have it right now on, over here you can see, on aperture priority, because I want to be at f8 to get depth of field, but still some clarity. So I actually have it so right now, so I can, this is a T4i, a Canon T4i, so I can actually touch the screen. I have it on 2-second delay, and it will go and it'll take the picture after 2 seconds. So I do that because the act of me handling the camera, I didn't bring my remote, so the act of handling the camera, pushing down the button and everything else, can cause camera shake and everything else. But if I touch it, by the time 2 seconds has gone by, my hand has moved away and been away, that the camera's not going to be shaking anymore from the touch of my finger, and then it will be able to take the picture with the minimal amount of shake. You just have to kind of time it so that, okay, in 2 seconds, where's the water going to be, to get kind of the flattest amount of water and everything, which after a little bit of practice and everything you can get. I mean, you can see what we're looking at right now is pretty good. The sun's continuing to go down. It's going to hit the horizon pretty soon behind the pier and everything else. Remember, as always, to look behind you, see if there's something you can shoot behind you. That's always good. We're actually getting some big waves over there. We're getting some bigger waves and stuff out here. There's another photographer who's now moved up on the rocks up there, one down over there, one over there. So we're getting a pretty good smattering of photographers out here, just because the clouds are here and the pier is a nice place to shoot. So I'm going to keep going, and I might make a few more videos out here that I'm going to put together right in the end. So you'll be seeing this after the fact. I may cut this part out even. So there you go. You won't even know I did it. There you go. Okay, so as the light changes and everything's changing out here, the camera may want to readjust and everything. So I have it so here I can set and say, I want more exposure, I want less exposure. The Canon's kind of nice because you got a little touch screen and you can just say, okay, now there's my new exposure, hit the screen and be able to just snap a picture just like that. So I may switch it to, once it gets darker, right, I'm going to start switching it to shutter priority so I don't get the shutter too slow. Or if it is too slow, I can just let it open it up and take some longer exposures out here. I didn't bring any neutral density filters, which I've done before. I've done neutral density before, which allows you to, of course, get the long, wispy, floaty kind of water out there. But I didn't bring those. I just grabbed my camera and came out today. So we'll see what we're getting. We're getting the cloud. The sun's going behind some clouds over there. So I'm going to keep shooting. It's starting to get up to where you can see it's going to start hitting the clouds up above me. So that's going to start looking pretty nice. And we'll keep going. All right. Okay, so now we can see the sun over there that's starting to kind of light up the clouds above me. So the nice thing about the camera that I have and the lens that I have, it's an 18 millimeter, so it gives me the ability to really get a lot in the picture. So I can take, and now that I'm here close, I can just start tilt it up a little bit. And once I get that tilted up, I'm going to start catching some of a lot of the clouds and everything in there. See, they're starting to come in as I tilt it up, and I've still got all of that, great water down below me and the reflection and everything. And eventually the water down here will start reflecting the stuff in the clouds. So it's like a win-win as we go along here. So there we go. Still going. Okay, we're getting darker out here, but you can see behind me the clouds are really starting to kind of light up. I've actually switched the camera down here, if you can see towards the bottom. Maybe not so well. It's set to bracket shots, so now we're doing kind of HDR setting, but I do that just to bracket everything, just so in case kind of the settings get a little wild or the focus gets a little off, then we can at least get some good different exposures right in the image. I may not HDR it, do any processing on it, but I will definitely pick one and then put it in Lightroom and open up the colors and get the color depth and exposure depth back out of it. So all right, here we go. Okay, so at this point the sky is just crazy here. It looks great. I've actually, a couple of, like maybe 10-15 minutes ago, I actually switched to manual focus and got it manually focused on the pier. So that'll give me good depth of field front and back for what I'm focusing on, because when it gets a little darker and everything, it tends to do a little hunting and seeking and stuff extra, which can also cause vibration when you're trying to get, these pictures that are, if I hit the button here, pictures that are, in really fairly low light. So that's been kind of a thing. So the sun is just now going down. The peak of it is just now disappeared. So all this light and everything that's out here, take a couple of more, it's just going to be raw light from the reflection of the sun. And it's just lighting up everywhere around here, around the sky. God did an amazing thing making sunsets, and it's just nice. I'm hoping to get a little bit better reflection off of the ocean here. There's some here in front of me. I don't know if I want to move forward a little bit. That's always a big decision. There's a bigger spot over there where the water kind of comes up a little more. I might move down there just really quick. But there you go. All right, I'll be taking this back to the house in a little bit, and we'll be kind of going over and editing and importing them into Lightroom and doing some editing and stuff like that. So look for that. That's the next section of the video. There we go. Okay, we're back from the beach, and I got all these photos loaded up. I copied them from my little thing to the NAS. Remember to get your card back in your camera because you don't want to be out with your camera without a card in it trying to take pictures. There are some cameras that will have a setting that says don't fire unless there's a card inserted, and I suggest you turn that on. Then before you go anywhere, you flip the camera on and shoot a couple of pictures and make sure your card's there, because the last thing you want is to be out taking a bunch of pictures and get back and you got nothing. All right, and make sure your batteries are charged. That's always a good idea too. So just have a checklist. I think that's always the best thing to do. Okay, so we're going to switch over here to our second screen. And I've got Lightroom. I've got these in here. I'm ready to import them. I'm going to click the import here real quick. And we're going to bring these photos in. Wow, that first one is really blown out because I was just adjusting the pictures there. Okay, so we're getting them in here. So you can see there was, at this point in the two bad photos. Okay, well, that's not bad. That's all right. We'll deal with that. So at this point here, at the beginning, right, the sun's way up. It's above the, let me increase the size a little bit of these thumbnails. It'll help a little bit here. So the sun's way up, right? It's like way up in the sky. And it's just slowly starting to come down. I took some pictures with the seaweed in the front. I thought that might add a little bit of, you know, kind of foreground interest stuff, but I lost interest in it pretty quickly because there's too much a gap between the seaweed here and the ocean, because what I really want is, you know, some of the ocean. So that was too big of a gap. So we do our first things here. I turn the highlights down, which kind of brings everything up. And if I open the shadows, then we should start to see the seaweed. You don't want to, I mean, I don't want to go that far, turn the shadows out, but we'll see what happens when we hit the J key here and then turn the, it's too much, and then bring the blacks to where we start getting black. Okay. So that's, you know, it was too bright, right, already. And see, the seaweed's too far away from the ocean. I was going to try and kick it and move it to the ocean, but that didn't really happen very well. So I quickly abandoned that and started moving forward. But then a lot of these are kind of blown out because the sun was so bright. You're shooting right into the sun. I probably should have brought a neutral density filter, which I didn't, but that's okay. We can still reduce our highlights and open the shadows up and increase the whites. And even with the highlights gone, I could even like turn the exposure up just a little bit. I like it. There's all these little bumps that were in there. The waves created this little ruffle pattern that was there. So it was kind of cool. So we've got that. We've got all of our, we have the flag out here that's way out at the end of the pier. But at this point, there really wasn't any color. So, you know, I was really kind of taking some shots and stuff and waiting for, you know, the color to show up. And that's when, and a little ways, when the sun gets down a little ways, then, wow, it's really blown out there. Then color starts to show up in the top of these clouds here. And if we bring the highlights down, it'll start to show up a little bit more. Open the shadows up so we can see the ocean, everything in front of us. And we'll hit our J, we'll do some whites, bring the whites up a little, and bring the blacks down. See, now the blacks are killing that. So this, I mean, maybe, these are shot in RAW, so, I mean, you can increase the exposure a little bit. So that's, I kind of like that one. I think some of the later ones are going to be a little bit better. But we will see. There's no, I need to do some lens correction because that's I can see that it's got a weird curve to it, so we can come down here to lens correction, tell it remove chromatic aberrations, enable profile correction. There we go. That's a little flatter. That's what I like. little better. Got to remember to do all those kinds of things. It wasn't really hazy, so I don't really need to dehaze it. I mean, I can add just a little bit of clarity to make things pop a little bit more. So that one looks pretty good. I did move around a little bit. I did get closer, and then started shooting kind of more, HDR, so I get the different exposures. I mean, that one's, so the sun here is completely gone. So we're gonna start getting, there we go. Just with it right there at the crest. I wonder if there's one of these that's got less ocean waves. I'm trying to look and see if the ocean wave here is flat. I want that to be, fairly flat. So let's put the lens correction on, and then we'll come up here and we'll bring the highlights down, and that'll bring out some color. Open the shadows up so that we get a little bit of the foreground stuff, and go see where our whites start blowing out here. Anywhere, get the whites, okay, that's brighter, that's good. And the blacks in the pier are going to come up really, really quickly and give it a little bit of clarity. So that one I like quite a bit. I mean, it's got all this cloud work in the top, and I think it's a little bit crooked, because we're just straighten it out a little bit. It's hard to deal with the pier being as it's trailing out towards, perspective-wise, out towards the ocean there, that it gets smaller, so you need to kind of crop it out. But back here in the back of these fixtures, there's different land things. Like out here, over here there's the Channel Islands that are out here on the side in the back, that are out there. So they kind of throw it off for where the horizon is to the ocean, and stuff. But that you gotta kind of feel your way through it. We're shooting at an angle. The ocean's supposed to be flat. The pier is kind of angular and stuff. So you got to kind of go with, what your gut, right? How does that really look right? Is it, does perspective wise it seem okay? And all that. So it's a balance, definitely. So that one looks pretty good. If I put a little, vignette on it, to give it a little into the middle. I don't know if I would want to, I didn't take any more higher exposure. I think the next one is darker, and that one's even darker. So this is the brightest one. So I think I would keep this one. We're not going to get any detail on this side of the pier, really, because I didn't shoot full 2-stop HDR. I did 1-stop just to be able to get, the little bit of the contrast between, kind of balance, is underexposed going to work? Is overexposed going to work? Which one's going to work the best, kind of thing. So, yeah, I kind of like that. I might add just a little bit of lightning in the front. Not lightning as in, thunderbolts, but just lighten right there on that. So that kind of looks right. And then I don't know if I want to darken some of that. I mean, the blue is nice. I don't know if I really want to bring out any more of the blue. You can kind of do that, if by adding more clarity, kind of makes the blue a little more sometimes. But we can play with the sliders. Like if I bring vibrance way up just to see, wow, you can really make it be screaming ugly. But if you add a little bit, and then saturation, you can really go crazy ugly. But I usually like going, oh, let's go really bad. All right, well then let's bring it back to where it makes me feel okay. All right, so I do that kind of on vibrant. I mean, you can kill it so it makes it like a gray picture, but I don't like that. So it's a little bit, maybe a little bit too much there. I mean, I want it to look fairly close to what it was. Oh, there's a new texture thing. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. So if you look at the clouds right now, they're all we'll reset it. if we go up to the clouds and look at the clouds, and then I move this textures slider over, it makes them go really, really crazy gritty. But you're losing, anytime you're doing this, you're also adding noise. So you're gonna have to bring, you clarity it up and get all this clarity and texture and everything else into it, and then it creates noise, and then you go add a ton of noise reduction, and then all the clarity goes away. So it's definitely a balance between the two. So they even have no noise detail here. That's what it is, detail. That's like not in the right place. So let's move it over. Okay, so I want some noise reduction just a little bit. Just to get a little. The sensor's fairly noisy. And I just kind of play with it a little bit. Just give it a little bit. I mean, I know I can't make it perfect. And just add a tiny bit of sharpening. I can't make it really perfect because it's the limitations of the camera, right? This camera's not full frame. It's just a crop sensor, and that's kind of all we can get, from it. So, but anyway, there's a picture. That's the one I took tonight. I will probably export that. Export, and we're going to put it in we just don't need it on the desktop. We're going to put it in the pictures folder, and we're going to give it, 60. Now we want 90. We want like 92. Okay. And then we can keep the location info and then export. Okay, so now in my pictures folder, I will have this file exported at some point. Oh, it's exporting one file. Well, it's got to pull it off the NAS first. That's what takes so long for these to come up. Okay, now it's done. Now we should have a picture here. I will bring it up, and boom, that's our picture. It's very sunsetty. It's got a lot of shadows and reflections and all that in it. So I'm happy with it. So I will probably share this on social media and all points in between, and it'll be in the thumbnail of my YouTube and everything for this video. I mean, I have some of the other ones. I moved a little bit closer, but the sun was gone, and people were, really, they're trying to get, I don't know what they were trying to get. I mean, the sky went a little red, but the problem at this point was the clouds are moving back away. The clouds are not moving towards the flag here on the end. They're not moving that way. They're moving the other way. So the longer you waited, the more those clouds moved out of frame. So if I look here at the beginning of when I started to take pictures, see, these clouds are way out over everything. I mean, they're all way out over the pier and everything else. And then if we go to one of these way in the back, now they've all moved away. So it's too hard to try and get, I can't ask God, can you move the clouds back, or bring some more from the other side? It's it's not working that way. So, but I mean, I tried to take some pictures that were facing down a little bit, but I don't know if those, and none of these don't really thrill me or anything else. So we're sticking with this one right here. That's what we're going to go with. I like it. So, I mean, if I wanted to, I could put a little, message in the big blue blank spot and type something, some fancy message or something like people do with their photos, but we're not doing that right now. Okay, so that's my photo shot that I did. It's good to get back out there. I did have, many of you know out there, I had spine surgery. I had, spine fusion, so I got metal inside me. And the disappointing thing, I don't set off any metal detectors. So I guess it's titanium, and that's something that doesn't set off metal detectors for anybody. So I was hoping that it would, but no, I didn't. No joy there. So, but anyway, I have joy back in my photography. So I'll be posting this image on all social medias and everything, and doing all of that. So Thanks for watching this one. I got more other videos. We're going to Disneyland Sunday. I'll be taking my regular camera and taking some pictures there, and then we'll do some kind of edits and things of Disney photos and how I did them and everything else. So there'll be more of those coming. So as always, like, share, subscribe, because YouTube doesn't promote small channels, so we have to rely on people who watch our videos to promote that. So any help in that area would be appreciated. Thanks very much. All right, take care.